So what's going on, guys? We are back with another video from byteXL, and I hope everyone would have watched the previous two videos which was posted yesterday and day before yesterday. So people, if you like our channel, do share, subscribe and like our YouTube channel, and also follow our LinkedIn page, which is nothing but byteXL. So yeah, guys, it's me Vishwa here, and the topic which we are going to deal for today is problem solving. As everyone know, life is full of problems, but the the enjoyment is once you solve those problems with proper plan and a proper motivation behind it. So yeah, guys, so today we'll be dealing with the topic problem solving. This problem solving is a very important concept whenever we deal into any placement related company oriented exams. So initially you'll have these aptitude rounds, technical rounds, and at the last, the most hectic one is the coding questions, problem solving questions. So usually in company's perspective, there will be around 2 to 3 programming questions with some time constraints given to it. So today I am here to solve all your problems, and I'll be teaching you a few approaches on how to solve a problem, how to solve a coding problem, how you should create a plan on solving the problem within the given time. So let's move on to the coding questions. So in this session, we'll be dealing with a few company-based coding questions, and I'll be explaining them. I'll be explaining the logic behind it, and hope everyone likes it. So let's move on to the first problem. Okay. So before writing the code for a particular problem, there are a few steps which we need to follow or which we need to do in order to solve a problem. Okay. So before going to the coding question, the first step is understand and analyze the problem. So that you must read the question multiple times and understand the logic behind the question. Find the logic or find the plan, find out a plan on how we are going to solve the particular question. So this is how you must start. When you see a coding question, this is how you should start first. Understand and analyze the problem. Try to read the question multiple times. Sometimes the question might be lengthier, but you must find out the main area where the question, where the problem is focused on. You must find the logic behind the question. Once you found out the question, usually they used to give a question followed by inputs, outputs, sample inputs, sample outputs, and a few explanations about it. So what you must do is you must go on through the inputs and the expected outputs. Remember, guys, this is the important aspect in any problem solving question, because even a small change in the output might give you an error like test case didn't pass or something like that. So it's very, very important to analyze the inputs and output, find out the format in which the inputs are received, and find out the format in which you have to display the outputs. And also they'll give you an explanation on how the output is obtained. So it's always important to analyze the input, output, and explanations of each and every coding question. Once you analyze those, break down the problem, find out the logic. As while you read the question itself, you should devise a plan in your mind on how we are going to solve this problem. So once you found out the plan, the logic behind it, there will be some common pattern for each and every coding question. Once you find that common pattern, the question will be very easy for you to solve. So identify the common pattern or the common logic, the logic behind the question. So once you find the logic, start implementing the logic in your code. So start doing your code, try to implement the logic and print the output. And once after completing coding, in case not everyone will be an expert in coding, so sometimes you might pass the test cases and that's a good thing. In some cases, you might be unable to pass the pass all the test cases. So in those cases, don't get fed up, be energetic, try to solve the question once again, find out where you made the mistake in your code and learn from it. That is the good thing which you should do whenever you're going to solve a coding question. See guys, only if you practice makes a man perfect. As you know, repeated practice, multiple practice makes you expert in coding. So, and also don't get fed up whenever you're unable to pass a test case whenever you're unable to get the output. The main thing is how you cope up, how you motivate yourself, how you cope up from the errors which you created, and how you learn from it. That's an important aspect in any coding question. So look back and learn. If you're unable to solve a question, try it out once again, find out the logic behind it and learn from it. And while doing coding, in case if you're stuck in middle, or if you're facing some errors, you don't know where the error occurs, or where you've lost track of your logic, use printf statements in between to have a track of whether you're following the logic or not. So let's say we have some programming question which consists of inputs and outputs. So input, there might be situations where you would have got the wrong input at the beginning stage itself, or there might be situations where you would have missed some values in your for loops or any other in your logics, or there might be a situation where you would have printed the wrong output. It might be anything, guys. So in order to find out where you have lost track, try to use printf statements in between and find out where the issue is. So by printing the outputs in between, you'll come to know whether you have got the right input or not, whether you have applied the proper logic or not, or while printing the output also, whether you have printed in the proper format or not. So try to use printf a lot, guys. And I assure you guys, using printf statements and finding out the track of your code will help you a lot while you're doing coding. Instead of just thinking and finding out the error, it's best to use printf in between the codes and check whether you are in the proper track or not. So, okay, guys, let's move on to the first question of our topic. Yeah. So this question was asked in Wipro. It's a recent one, 2022 question. So the question is, the delivery requests for a website are depicted in the form of strings consisting of small cases A to Z or uppercase A to Z. And always remember, guys, most of the Wipro questions which I have seen they mostly have the same content, which is in a website or some company or something like that. But the logic behind it will change from the line 2 or line 3. So in our question, there is a delivery agency for a website, and they're having all the requests in the form of a string. So the string contains capital letter as well as small letter. And let's move on to the next line. Each character in the string or request code. As I told, all the characters in the string. So let's say if I have some string called byteXL, then each character in the string, B, Y, T, E, X, L, each and every character is a request code. Okay. So now coming to the main aspect of this question, the ASCII value of the character represents the number of products that needs to be delivered. Okay. So the first thing is we have to find the ASCII value of each character. Okay. So this is the first thing we have to find. The delivery company has decided to deliver products whose codes represents the largest and smallest ASCII value in the string. Okay. So our first target is to find ASCII value of each character. Once we find ASCII value of all the characters in the string, in those ASCII values, we have to find highest, the largest, and the smallest value. So we need to find the largest and smallest ASCII value in the given string. Okay. The company needs to find the total number of products delivered. Okay, guys. So, yeah. So we need to find the total number of products delivered. So the total number of products is nothing but, as per the logic we given, the first step is to find ASCII value of each character, and we have to find the largest and smallest ASCII value. Then, so we have a test case here, which is A, small a, capital A, small k, small l, small n, capital P. So this is the input. This we have to find the output for this given input. Okay. So the output which they have given is 173. So let's find out all the ASCII values of this particular string. So in the explanation, you can find out the reason why 173 was obtained. So you can find that the ASCII value of small a is 97, and the ASCII value of capital A is 65. The ASCII value of small a is once again small k is 107, small l is 108, small I is 105, and capital P is 80. So the output which you are obtaining is 173. So it looks like the sum of smallest and largest. So the smallest ASCII value is 65, which belongs to capital A, and the largest ASCII value is 108, which belongs to small l. So the sum of these two, so sum of 108 and 65 gives us 173. So we have found the logic that we have to find the ASCII value of each and every characters, compare them, find out the smallest and largest ASCII value. Once you find the smallest and largest, sum them up and print the value. So this is the logic, guys. So okay, let's move on to the coding part for this. So the first step is, since it's going to be a string, we have to create a character array. That's the general format which we'll be doing. We have to create a character array, get these inputs into the character array. Once we get this input, we have to process each and every character and find out the ASCII. Once we find it out, compare it, and store the least ASCII value into a variable, and we create and store the largest ASCII value into another variable. After that, we have to just sum it up. Okay, guys. So let's try out the coding part for this. Okay. Okay. So as usual, since we are going to do this C code, as everyone knows, hash include stdio.h. So this is the first line which we used to write. Okay. So it's going to be main and we're going to write a return 0. See, this is the general format which you'll usually have in a program. And also remember, guys, in some exams, the inputs and the printer statements would have been predefinedly given. You just need to write the logic in separate functions. So there might be situations where in few companies they would just give you they will just ask you to write the logic for the code. The getting of input using a buffer reader and printing, all those would have been predefinedly given by the company. So your job is to just write the logic for that code and return the output which you are getting it through a function. So now in this code, I'm going to write the whole code for this. Okay. So as you know, based on our question, we are going to get string as our input. So for string, we have to create a character array in C. So let's say I'm going to create a character array whose name is going to be, let's have it as C itself, or yeah, C. And as you know, whenever we create an array, we need to define its size. If you don't define the size, you will get an error like the size has not been defined in the particular array. So let me assume that the strings might have some size of around 10 at max. So I'll keep the character array size as 15. Okay. So it all depends upon your test cases, guys. So if the input is more than 15 characters, then you have to increase the array size to 20 or 50, which is a good one. So I feel that 15 is more than enough for this particular problem. So I'm creating a character array C of size 15. Now what you have to do is, you have to get this array, right? You have to get the input for this array. So what you'll do is scanf %s, comma C. The reason why I've used the escape sequence %s is we are going to get this string as a whole. We are not going to take each and every character as input. So we should always use %s in case if you're going to take this whole string as an input. If you are going to take individual characters as input, you should use %c. And as you know, defaultly, whenever we are using a scanf function, we used to write this ampersand symbol. But while using %s, you must not use ampersand symbol. The reason is, since we are taking the whole string as an input, this whole string should be saved into the character array. If I use %c, it means that I'm trying to store this whole string into first index in the character array. So we can't store the whole string into first index, right? The size will exceed then the allocated one. So for %s, we must not use ampersand symbol. Okay. Now our next one is to find the minimum ASCII and maximum ASCII. So I'll be creating min ASCII and max ASCII. And as you know, we must declare this minimum ASCII and maximum ASCII. So it's going to be of type integer. And initially, I'm going to assign both this minimum ASCII and maximum ASCII to the first character in the given array. Now is the point where we have to find the smallest and largest ASCII. So for that, we need to compare each and every character's ASCII value. Then we have to swap the variable. If we find the least ASCII, we have to swap it with min ASCII. If we find the largest, we have to swap it with max ASCII. So we'll be using a for loop for int I is equal to 1. The reason why I'm declaring starting I with first index is, since we have already have assigned the 0th index, the character which is present at 0th index, to min ASCII and max ASCII, there is no necessity to start the index from 0. We can start it from 1. I is less than yes. Yeah, here we need to stop I till we have to run the for loop till we reach the end of the input, right? But we haven't got the size of the input. In one test case, the string length can be of around 10 characters. In another test case, the string length can be of around 5 characters. It will change, right? So we need to find find out the value of the length of the string. So for this, a simple technique is we can use the escape sequence %n. So this %n, what it does is depends upon the length of your input, it takes the total number of inputs which you are given. So let's take n as the length of the input, or we'll have it as length. So I have to create a variable length, right? Yeah. Now in this for loop, I will run till length -1 and I plus plus. Yeah. Now we need to check whether we are getting the ASCII value or not. So to check whether the ASCII values are printed or not, just let's try to print all the values. Let's check whether the for loop is running perfect or not. Okay, so I'm just going to write a printf statement inside the for loop to check whether all the ASCII values, all the characters ASCII values are printed perfectly or not. Because if our condition might fail sometimes, or the range which I specified for the for loop might be wrong. So in order to predefinitely check whether it's working perfectly or not, I'm just going to write a printf statement inside this for loop, and I'm going to just check it. So our input was small a, capital A, KLI, and capital P. So now let's run this and check whether it's working perfectly or not. Yeah. So the problem here is it's C of I. So we have successfully printed all the ASCII values for the given character, and you can see here, right? Our input is of length 1, 2, 5, 6, but the ASCII values printed is 5, because since I've already stored the ASCII value of the first index, 0th index to min ASCII and max ASCII, I've started the for loop from first index instead of 0th index. That's the reason why the ASCII value from the first index is been printed. So now we have successfully got the input, and we have successfully created a for loop which traverses till the end of the input. Now is the main part where you have to find out the minimum, the least ASCII and the largest ASCII, the smallest and the largest ASCII. So for finding the smallest ASCII, directly we can create a comparison, like it's a brute force attack where we'll be comparing the ASCII value with the other characters ASCII value. Okay, so if the ASCII value which we are going to encounter is less than the minimum ASCII, which is nothing but ASCII value of the first in 0th index character. If that's the case, then we have to swap the values, right? So it's going to be min ASCII is equal to C of I. So let's say the ASCII value for small a is, yeah, let me check it out. Yeah, the ASCII value for small a is around 197. Yeah. Yeah. So the ASCII value for small a is 97. So small a is the one which is present at the 0th index. So defaultly min ASCII and max ASCII will be having the value 97 stored to it at the beginning. So what we are doing is we are starting the for loop from first index. So at first index we have capital A whose ASCII value is 107. So what we are doing is we are comparing 107 with 97. If let's assume that 107 is less than 97, If 107 is less than 97, we replace the 97, which was already present in min ASCII, to 107. Got the logic, guys? If the value which we are encountering is lesser than the min ASCII, we will swap it, or else we'll proceed on to the next index, the character present in the next index. Similarly, for max ASCII, if the value is greater than the max ASCII, then what we'll do, we'll swap it. Similarly, if the value which the ASCII value which we're encountering is greater than max ASCII, then what we do, we swap it. Yeah, guys. So in order to find out whether we are getting the whether we have stored the smallest ASCII and largest ASCII, once again let's try printing the ASCII values of smallest and largest. Okay, so let me write it as %d. Yeah, %d/n, comma, min ASCII, and similarly %d/n, comma, max ASCII. Yeah. So a question which you might get is, so we have created a character array, but while printing, how we are getting integer value, the ASCII value of this character is, since we are using the escape sequence %d, which is used to print integer values, what it does is the compiler finds out the ASCII value of the character and it prints it. That's how it is done, guys. So whereas if you go for other programming languages like Java and Python, we have inbuilt function for finding the ASCII value. For Python, we have to use the function order, ORD, for finding the ASCII values. So, but in C, just by changing the escape sequence, we can print the ASCII value. So now let's find out whether we have found the minimum and the smallest and largest ASCII value for the given problem. So as usual, guys, try to use printf statements as many times as possible, because once you create a logic, check whether your logic is correct or not, and whether the output which the expected output is matching with your code output or not. Because once you complete all the procedure and at last if you're trying to do the printf statement, the output might vary, and in that situation you might not be able to find out where the mistake is. So on each and every step, while getting the output, while getting the input, print the input once again and check whether the input has been received, whether you have obtained the correct input or not. And after implementing the logic, also print it once again and check out whether if the logic has been implemented successfully or not. So let me run this code. Yeah, you can find out that at the last, let me remove this printf statement. Yeah, you can find out that at the last we have got 65 and 108. So in our given input, you guys know that 65 is the least one and 108 is the largest ASCII value. So we have successfully found the smallest and largest ASCII value for the given code. So just we have to sum it up and print it. That's all the logic behind it. So let's write %d, comma, min ASCII plus max ASCII. So this is one of the approach where we can directly sum it up and print it, or else if you want, you can also create a variable sum. So you need to, and yeah, and write sum is equal to min ASCII plus max ASCII. This is also another approach on summing it up. Okay, let's check whether we are getting the correct output or not. Yeah. So based on our test case, so small a, capital A, small k LIP, the output should be 173. Yeah, let's check it out with our compiler. Yeah, small a, capital A, k, small k LIP. Yeah, and there is no space. Okay, yeah. So our approach for this particular question is correct, and the output is also in the expected format. And remember, guys, even if you leave a small space, a single space before the output, you might get invalid test case, or your test case might not pass, because the expect format does not have any space, whereas you have added a space before the output. So always analyze the input and output, find out how the output is printed, guys. So in our given question, you can find that we just need to get the input as it is and print the sum of it. No need to write any display function like the sum of smallest and largest is, or some, nothing is given, right? So whichever format they are asking to print the output, that's how you should follow, guys. Even if you miss a single, even if you print, add a space before it, or if you write any other sentence, additional sentences to the output, the test case might not pass. So always remember, guys, follow the input and output format strictly. Yeah, now let's move on to the next question, guys. So this is also another question asked from Wipro. It's a 2022 recent question, and yeah, let's check it out. An e-commerce company wants to bucketize its products. Okay, so each product has a product ID. Okay, the product ID is a numeric number. Okay, so we are going to get a product ID as input, and it's going to be of integer format. The company has to find the bucket ID from the product ID. Okay, so the company needs an algorithm which takes product ID as an input. Okay, so the product ID is of type integer. So that's what we are going to get the input, integer. Okay. So we need to find an algorithm which takes the product ID as an input. It should find the smallest and largest permutation with the digits of the product ID. Okay, so here is the twist. We have to find the permutation of the number, but not with the number. We should find the permutation of digits of the product ID. So it means like if I have a 4-digit number, let's say 1, 2, 5, and 3, I need to find the permutation of this digits, not the number. So the permutation of this digits is nothing but arranging it in ascending and descending order. So initially, at the first place, if we are going to find the smallest permutation, we have to find the smallest number. So at the first place in this given input, let's say 1, 2, 5, 3 is our input. So the first place will be occupied by 1 because it is the smallest one among it. And the second place will be occupied by 2. Third place will be occupied by 3. And fourth place will be occupied by 5. So this is the logic, guys. Since they have described as permutation with digits, we have to just sort them. So for smallest permutation, we have to sort them in ascending order. And for largest, we have to sort them in descending order. And what you have to do is we have to sum both these permutation and print them. Okay, guys. So there's a twist in this question, guys. So let's check the sample input first. 734 is the sample input which they are given, and the expected output is 1090. Explanation they've given is smallest permutation is 734, and if you arrange it in ascending order, it's going to be 347, and the largest permutation is, obviously, if you arrange it in descending order, it's going to be 743. Okay. So you can find out that while getting the input, I'm getting the input as a number, a single number. But while calculating the permutation, I have to split the number into individual numbers, Then I have to sort them up. After sorting, I have to club them up together and print them as a whole number. So initially I'm taking it as a whole number. I'm splitting it into individual numbers. I'm sorting them up. Then once again, I have to club them as a whole number. This is what you have to do, guys. So this is the logic behind this particular question. So you have to get the number as a whole number, split them up, sort them, and once again club them together as a whole number. Okay, guys. So we have found the logic for it. So eventually we have to use an integer. We have to use a variable of type integer. And once we identify the integer, we have to find the length of the number. So in our case, they are given a 3-digit number. In some test case, they might give a 5-digit number, a 7-digit number. So we have to find the length of the digit, the total number of digits in the given number. So that we have to find. So once we find it, then it will be easy for us to split them up and do the necessary things. Okay. So let's move on to the compiler. Yeah. So let me just use the previous one. Okay. Yeah. So first we have to get the input as a whole number. So let's say I'm going to create an integer variable n, and I'm going to get the input. So I'll write the test case here. So it's going to be 743, the input, and the output should be 1090. Okay. So I successfully got the input now. Now what I should do is I should find the number of digits in the given input, the length of the total number of digits in the input. Okay. So for finding the total number of digits, what we can do is we can create an while loop. So by dividing this number by 10, and if the number is greater than 0, we can create a variable like count or something like that, and we can increment it. If the number is greater than 0, we'll increment the count. If the number is equal to 0 or it's a decimal number, then we'll stop the loop and we'll just directly print the count. So this is how we can split the digit, guys. So on first division, the output will be 74. So on divisible, 3 will be the remainder and 74 is the quotient. So our count will be incremented to 1 on first scenario. Now 74 divided by 10. On second iteration, our count will be incremented to 2. Now just 7 will be pending. Yeah. So after this, once again our count will get incremented to 3. After this, the input will be 0 and the while loop will get exited. So this is how we have to find the length of the digits, guys. Yeah. So let's say while n count plus plus. So since I'm using a count, I have to declare it count is equal to 0 and n is equal to n divided by 10. So the problem here is we'll be dividing the input by 10. So at last n will have 0, right? And we will lose the input because at beginning n had the value 743, which is our input. After that, n on doing division, on doing continuous division by 10, the n will become 0, right? Eventually at the end. So we'll lose the input. And hence, what we should do is we have to store this n value into a temporary variable. So I'm going to create a temporary variable temp. Okay. So once I create it, after n is gets processed and we found the length of the digit, what you have to do is once again you have to get the input which we got. So we have to assign n is equal to temp. So after finding out the digits, n will be 0. Once again, what we are doing, we are assigning the n to its original number, which is the input which we got from the user. Okay. Now what you have to do, you have to split this input. So what you have to use, you have to create an integer. Okay, and the size will be count because we know the length of the total number of digits in the number, given whole number. So I'm going to create an integer array A and its size will be count. So if I give a 5-digit number, then an array of size 5 will be created. So it depends upon the input. So if an input is of 10-digit number, then an array, integer array of size 10 will be created. Now what I have to do, same, create a for loop. This for loop is to, so this for loop is to split the number and store it into the integer array. So for int I is equal to 0, I is less than count, comma, I plus plus. A of 5. So I'm going to store the first number into the integer array. So 743 is our input. So I need to store the first number, which is 3 followed by 4 and 7. If I perform a modulus operator, so let's say 743 modulus 10. What modulus operator does is it gives us the remainder. A division operator gives us the quotient, a modulus operator gives us the remainder. So on first modulus operation, we'll get the remainder 3. So 3 will get added into the integer array. So the first 0th index will have the value 3. Once again, on performing second modulus operator, so it's going to be 74. So on performing second modulus operator, the remainder will be 4. So 4 will get added into the integer array. So 4 will be stored in the first index of the integer array. And finally, we have 7 modulus 10 and eventually the remainder will be 7. So 7 will get added into the integer array. So it's going to be 3, 4 and 7. So this is what we are going to do. So A of I is equal to n modulus 10. Yeah. And we have to write n is equal to n divided by 10 because see initially our first modulus operation will be for the number 743. Once I do it, once I get the remainder 3, I have to remove this 3 from the input. So the second modulus operation should be for 74, not for 743. So what I should do, I should remove this 3. So for removing it, what I do is I do a normal division by 10. So yeah, guys. So this logic is fine to find the length of the digit. Okay. Number of length of the number or number of digits. And this for loop is used to find used to split the number. Okay. Now we have successfully found the number of digits and we have splitted the whole number into individual numbers. So now our next job is to find the ascending and descending order for the given numbers. So it's a simple one, same like brute force attack. We can use brute force attack where we'll be comparing each and every number with the given number, and if the number is lesser than the given number, then we'll swap it. So for I equal to 0, I is less than count, I plus plus, Yeah. So in our array, integer array, we have the values 3, 4, and 7. So now what you have to do is we have to compare each and every number with other numbers, and we have to find the smallest one. So for finding the smallest one, we have to create two for loops. So one for loop will start from 0th index, while the other for loop will start from first index. So this is how we compare the numbers in the integer array. For int j is equal to I plus 1. And guys, these are all very simple problems, guys. In next class, we'll move on with complex problems also. So don't worry. And all these questions are asked in Wipro and TCS and all the service-based companies. So yeah, guys, on repeated practice, all these questions will be easy for you. So I'll always appreciate you to keep on practicing these types of questions. If A of I, so A of I is nothing but the first index, 0th index in the integer array is greater than A of J, which is nothing but the first index. So what you have to do is we have to do the swapping problem. So as you know, I think most of you would have known how to do swapping. We can do swapping by using a third variable. So that is the most common approach. So what we have to do is we have to create we have already created a third variable called temporary temp. So we'll be using the temp variable to swap the two numbers. Temp is equal to A of I, which is nothing but the value which is present in 0th index 3. So the value 3 will be stored into temp, and A of I is equal to A of J. And once again, A of J is equal to temp. So how it works is, so initially I is at 0th index and J is at first index. So A of I will have the value 3. So this 3 will be stored into a temporary variable temp. Now we are updating the 0th index. A of I is equal to A of J. So initially A of I had the 0th index had the value 3, right? Now I'm changing the value into 4 because if 4 was less than 3, A of I is equal to A of J. So at 0th index, I'm updating it with the value which is present in the first index, which is nothing but 4. And in the first index, I am updating the value which is present at the 0th index. So in first index, now we have 4. So it's going to be like, in 0th index, it's going to be 4. So it will be like 4, 4, and 7. So at 0th index, we have successfully updated the value. And now we have to update the value which is present at the first index. So what we will do, we have already stored the value which was present at the first index to a temporary variable. So what we'll write is A of J. So first index, A of 1 is equal to temp. So now the first index will get updated to the value 3. This is how the swapping is done, guys. So even all these small, this problem is a combination of multiple small approaches, algorithms, guys. So one is finding the number of digit. The second algorithm is splitting the number. The third algorithm is sorting it in ascending. And the fourth algorithm is swapping. And remember, guys, all these algorithms are also asked in your technical interviews. So it's best to know the logic for all these small algorithms, all these small logics, okay? Okay. Similarly, for descending, it's the same condition. Just we have to change this greater than to lesser one. Okay. So I'll just copy paste it. Yeah. Here I'll change it to greater than. So this is for sorting it in descending order. So now we have successfully sorted the individual numbers in ascending as well as descending order. Now our last task is to club all these numbers into a whole number. That is our last step. So we have sorted the numbers in ascending order. So our next task is to join these numbers and form it as a whole number. So how we can do is, we'll create a variable. Okay, we'll create a variable called small and big. So small denotes the small permutation and big denotes the largest permutation. Okay. So after this for loop, our integer array consists of values which are in ascending order. So what we'll write is small is equal to And remember guys, whenever you're creating a variable, let's say sum, count, flag, small, big, anything, you have to assign them with a predefined value. Okay, so like count equal to 0, temp equal to 0, something like that, or else the compiler will show an error like the variable has not been assigned with any values present. Okay, so small is equal to small into 10 plus a of I. So I'll tell you the logic for it. So our input was 743. On sorting them in ascending order, it's going to be 347. All these are individual numbers. Now we have to club them together. Initially, the value of small is 0. So 0 into 10 plus a of I is obviously 3. So initially, our small will be assigned with the value 3. On next iteration, small 3 into 10. So 3 into 10 will be 30. 30 plus a of I, a of 1 is 4. So now it will be 34. So the value of small will be 34 now. And at the last station, it's going to be 34 into 10, which is 340 plus 7. Hence, it will be 347. So I hope you got the concept how we are clubbing the numbers and forming it as a whole number. So just multiplying the number and adding it with the value which is present in the integer array. Similarly, for large, it is the same, guys. So large is equal to large into 10 plus a of I. And you must note here is that the note here is I'm writing this line for outer for loop, not for the inner one. In this nested loop, this small statement is written for the outer for loop. So once we do all the swapping, this outer for loop will proceed. The outer for loop will keep on running until all the values have been clubbed together and it's been assigned to the variable small. So remember guys, the placement of this sentence also matters a lot. If you place it outside the for loop, then your output won't be right. Okay. So now final thing is we have to sum it up. So directly we can write printf %d, comma, small plus large. Yeah. So this is the logic, guys. So you can find that this particular question has combination of multiple small algorithms. So as I've already told you previously, it has an approach called finding the number of digit. So this is the logic for finding the number of digit, and this is for splitting the number, logic for splitting the number. This nested for loop is for sorting it in ascending, and inside this nested for loop we are using a algorithm for swapping. Similarly, this nested for loop is for sorting in descending, and same for swapping, and this particular statement is for clubbing the whole number. Okay, so let's check out whether the given algorithm works. So our input is 734. Yeah, so 734. Let's check out whether it's working. Okay, so you can find out that error use of undeclared identifier. Yeah, so what I've done here is I have declared the variable as big and I've used large as the variable. So let's change this big to large, and yeah, this is the only error, I think. Yeah, so now we'll be getting the output. Yeah, so let's check it out with the test cases. So for 734, the output should be 1090. Yeah, we have got the correct output, guys. And also remember whether the format is imperfect or not. No spaces is present before or after 1090. Yeah, okay, so no spaces are present. Okay, guys, so you're successfully done with finding out the second one. This one is also a recent question which was asked from Wipro. So now let's move on with the last question for the day, and this is a very interesting one, guys. So let me show it. Yeah, the students in XYZ college are going to appear for their semester exam. Okay, it seems college students are going to write some semester exam. It is mandatory for them to have a minimum attendance specified by the management. Okay, the students should have a minimum attendance. Poor guys, they okay. So the attendance will be specified by the management. Every day the attendance is marked with 1 if the student is present and 0 if the student is absent. Okay, if the student is present for the class, then the attendance is marked as 1 for him. If the student is absent, then 0 is marked. Okay, so 0 represents, if the student is absent, it is represented by 0. If the student is present, then it's represented by 1. The task is to check whether the student is eligible for the exam or not. Display the eligibility by yes or no, and also you have to display the attendance percentage. Okay, a very interesting one. So okay, our input consists of a series of number which consists of ones and zeros, and followed by the 60. Okay, so the input is here is the first input tells us it's like a report, daily report on whether the student is present or not. So that's why it has given, if the student is present, it is marked by 1. If the student is absent, it's marked by 0. Okay, daily report. The second input is the attendance percentage, which the management specifies. Okay. Yeah, management specified attendance. Okay. So our job is to check whether the attendance percentage, after calculating the attendance percentage, you have to check whether it's greater than the attendance specified by the management. Yeah, guys, it's a pretty interesting question. It might look simple, but there's a twist in this, guys. So for finding out the percentage, first we have to count the number of ones in the given input. So in our case, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So we have totally 11 ones in the given input, and let's check out the length of the given string. So it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 11, 12, 13, 20. Okay, so 20. And if we after performing the division, so it's going to be number of days present divided by total number of days into 100. So generally, this is the formula for finding out a percentage. Number of days present divided by total number of days into 100. Now, after finding out the percentage, we have to compare it with the management specified percentage. So if I perform 11 by 20, it's going to be around 55, I think. Yeah, it's 55. So you have to check whether 55 is greater than or equal to 60. If it's greater than or equal to 60, then the student is eligible for writing the semester exam. But in our case, 55 is not greater than or equal to 60, it's lesser than. Hence, what you have to do is we have to display the attendance percentage as well as the eligibility status, which is no, because 55 is lesser than 60. Okay, guys. So I hope you got the logic for it. Now here comes a twisted. They haven't specified the length of the input. So the length of the input changes. They have not given any a particular input like 10, which denotes the length of the input followed by the inputs. There's nothing like that. They directly go on with the input. So we have to find the length of the input. Once we find that, then we can go on with finding out the number of ones and finding out the percentage of the given input. Yeah. So here, let's move on to the programming part. Yeah, guys. In this given input, the problem here is we can't take this input in the form of an integer array. We can't get this input into an integer array because, once I write this number without any spaces, all this number will be, the compiler what it thinks is that this is a single number and it will try to store the single number into first index, the first index of the integer array. So we can't store a lengthy number like this into the first index of an integer array. So what you have to do is we have to get this input as a string. Once we get this input as a string, we can directly find out the length of the string. Yeah, as in previous question, we used percentage n for finding the length of the input. Similarly, here also we can use percentage n to find the length of the input. Then once we find it, we can use a for loop, and inside the for loop, if the input is 1, we can increment the count. And guys, even I request you to try this logic in your compiler, and if you get the output, you can display it in the comment section also. So let's check out. Okay, the first step is to find out to get the input from the user. So first let me just copy paste this input. Okay. So this is the input and the output for this is 55 no. Okay, guys. So this is the input and output for this, for the given problem. So I'll just tell you the logic behind it. And guys, I request you to work out this problem and find the answer for this and paste it in the comment section below. In the next session, I'll shout out the names to the people who found the answers, who got the perfect answer. I'll give a shout out for them. And also guys, if you like this video, do like, share and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And also don't forget to follow us on LinkedIn. So we are conducting a contest in LinkedIn, and so we'll be displaying programs there. The first few people who find the correct answer will get some gifts from our byteXL side. So guys, don't forget to follow us on LinkedIn, and see you in the next session, guys. Thank you guys, and I hope you like this video, and see you soon, guys. Bye.